Hello, everybody. This is Teen Title Talk with Courtney.
And Yahira.
This is the podcast
where two librarians discuss two YA books every 2 weeks.
Today, we'll be talking about the books Reverie by Ryan La Sala and
Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. But before we do that, we have to get in touch with our teen selves.
Okay, so this is a very exciting day for two reasons. First, because we have Yahira back on the show while Aaron is off for a few days. And second, because we actually have a couple of listener questions, they're both from the same listener, but that's okay. We'll take it. Okay, so these are both from Priscilla. Did you ever pretend to like or hate something just to fit in, to make friends?
I'm sure I did. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I did. I just don't remember. There's no specific instance that I remember. Well, I'm going to pretend to like this just to fit in with my friends or whatnot. For me, it was more of I think I incorporated certain things. I started liking stuff, even though I initially tried it because I wanted, or sometimes because I didn't have a choice.
Gotcha. So you would do stuff because other people were doing it.
Because other people may have been doing it. And I was like, but then I realized, this is a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
Oh, so it worked to your advantage
exactly.
A little bit. Well, that's true. Positive peer pressure can sometimes be a good thing, especially if you don't want to try things. I hated trying things.
Exactly. So I think there is a space for that. Now, there's also the whole thing, if you promised yourself that you wouldn't do certain things. I promised myself from a very young age, I was 11, that I would not smoke cigarettes.
Oh.
And it didn't matter how many other people around me were smoking cigarettes. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't, back when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily judgmental of other people smoking cigarettes. Mm-hmm. But that wouldn't prod me to do it just to fit in.
You knew you didn't want to do it.
Exactly.
I didn't do that either.
And I'd be like, you go ahead and have fun doing what you're doing. I'm going to stay over here and not do that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we can't be friends.
It's fine.
We just have different interests.
You were true to yourself, and I think that's great. Mm-hmm. I remember a specific incident where I pretended that I had seen the movie It. And so I lied about what the plot was. And the person was like, "You've never seen it." And I was like, "Oh, you caught me." But I had gone on for 45 minutes going back and forth with this person who I wanted to be friends with. And they were like, "My favorite movie is It." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's awesome." And they were like, "How about that part when I don't even know anything?" Because I still have never seen it. Or the old one or the new one. I won't see it. I don't know why. It freaks me out. So I was like, oh, yeah. And I think I had seen a bit of it on TV because I think it's a TV movie. The old one.
It probably was put on the small screen at one point or another. I don't remember. I was into scary movies when I was 13 and 14 and even 15 years old. But now you can't pay me enough money to watch a scary movie.
Why does that happen when you get older? Because I did also watch scary movies. I saw the other day that on Netflix, Candyman, the original from 1992, is on Netflix. And I was like, ugh. I watched it when I was 13 and you could not pay me to watch it now. I don't know why. Whatever. I don't know. Okay. So I did do a little lying, but not much. I tried to stay true to myself as well. Okay. So Priscilla's second question. What about your teen self do you wish you had kept into adulthood?
I guess an openness for making friends.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, back then, I wouldn't be judgmental of, say, people smoking cigarettes. Now, I am more judgmental of, say, people smoking cigarettes.
You'd be like, ew, get away from me.
Exactly. So I think that is like the number one thing is like the openness to making more friends. However, I think that as an adult, I have more openness in other things. Like when you're a teen, going back to the whole fitting in thing. So I think it's more likely that I would agree with somebody that I didn't like something than to pretend to like something because of somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's like, so now I'm more likely to be like, well, you don't like that? Pfft, big deal. I like it.
Yeah, you're a little bit like more owning your
Yes.
like self. Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's true about adulthood.
But there isn't a certain openness when you're a teen or a young person that you might lose as you get older because you do become more judgmental.
And your friends are often from different, like your friends might be more different than you are when you're a kid.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Although
You stick more to your tribe when you're an adult.
I think
like you
that's
found your
true.
tribe and this is my tribe.
you're
and
like, I've got the friends I have.
I
I don't need more friends. I do need more friends.
Me too.
I'm always like, how do grown-ups make friends? But I think that's part of it is that openness,
Exactly.
willingness to just be like, we're different, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, I was reading an article about cancel culture, which I don't really know anything about, but that's like a teenager thing now too, where like you can be canceled for doing something that's like, I don't know, offensive. And so on the one hand, you're like, well, that's kind of good because now people feel empowered to be like, all right, well, are you going to like say stuff that's super, I don't know, offensive, like say,
So it's
like
sort of like
racist
being
or something.
unfriended?
It's like being unfriended in real life. And then people just ignore them. You pretend they don't exist. And so it's good and bad, I guess, because people don't get a chance to like learn from their mistakes or grow or change.
Or maybe defend their position.
It's true. You just get canceled. I know, it's wild. I don't understand it because I'm not a teenager anymore. Now I'm just old. But yeah, it's a wild time. All right. Anyway, that was fun/painful, as Erin would say. So let's move on to books. I can give my synopsis first, or you can give your synopsis first. What would you like to do?
I guess I'll do mine, although I wrote all the answers to my questions. I did not read my synopsis.
That's okay. Just give us a quick, like, if I was meeting you in an elevator and I was like, what are you reading? You would say.
Yes. So I love pets. And I'm sure that I messed up the author's name. Akwaeke Emezi is what I'm guessing you pronounce it, but I'm not 100% sure.
You have the book right in front of you. The cover is
is
so interesting.
Awesome. So it is about a monster that comes out of a painting and helps the main character, whose name is Jam, to find the unseens. So the book is sort of like dystopian because they're living in this world post-monsters.
Post-monsters. Okay.
But, and precisely because of that reason is the reason why the monster that comes out of the painting does not like being called a monster.
Oh.
And he gives himself a name for her. He calls himself Pet. Therefore, the title of the book.
Oh, okay.
Pet. So he doesn't consider himself a monster, but when he's described, or it's described, you can't even necessarily say that it has a gender. It has very horrifying features because it came to life from this painting that Jam's mother made. And he's like feathers and the hands are claw-like, even though they're her mother's hands. And it's like a whole jumble of things. So he looks and sounds, or it sounds sort of scary. But I wouldn't really consider this book a horror book either. Because to me it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary like It, or it wasn't scary like, I don't know. There was no blood. Well, that's not true. There was a little bit of bloodshed towards the end.
So it's like kind of like it's fantastical.
Yes,
certainly.
It's
There's
supernatural.
monsters.
There's this creature coming out of a painting, but he's there to actually help Jam and help Jam's friend. Redemption is his name. Above all, to see the unseen. So they're living in this utopia where monsters, and when they're talking about monsters, they're actually talking about everyday monsters.
Okay. Well, I want to ask questions about that later.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
All right. So both of ours are kind of like supernaturally. So Reverie is kind of like this weird twisty turny ride through perceptions of reality. So like you could be living your normal life one second and then all of a sudden you're basically in someone else's daydream. And the daydreams could be anything. And they're often really dangerous. So at the heart of the story is Kane, who is a character that like starts out with no memory. So we only have Kane's perspective and he has no memory. So all we know of the other characters is how Kane perceives those characters. And so we don't know like whether people are good or bad, or whether they're telling him the truth or whether they're lying. But as the story unfolds, we begin to understand that Kane has like special superpowers, I guess, along with these other teenagers that know him, but he doesn't remember them.
Because he lost his memories.
Yeah, because one of them made him lose his memory because that's one of their powers. And so it's like something happened at this old historic building. They find Kane. He's in a river. He's rescued. The police are there. And that's like all Kane knows of how he came to lose his memory. But these kids are there to be like, hey, here's what's really going on. We're getting sucked into people's reveries and we have to save them, or like make sure that the daydreams go the way they're supposed to go so that everyone can survive. It's crazy. And it took me a long time to figure out what was going on. So, yeah. So Kane's got to figure out what he's doing there and how to harness his powers and how to save the world.
Essentially.
Yeah.
That's a lot on him.
It is a lot. It's very stressful. All right. So, since you did your blurb first, why don't I ask you my questions to you first?
Okay.
Okay, so pet to me sounds kind of creepy and possibly very weird. But at its heart, it seems like it's a book about truth. Like I was reading the synopsis and it's about what we feel is true versus what actually is true. Can you talk a little bit about what that means for the book and what it might mean or what it might be saying to our readers?
So this, like I said, the story is set in a type of utopia. It's a city or town called Lucille. It could be any town in USA, right? And Pet, this creature that just comes out of this painting that was done by Jam's mother, whose name is Bitter, comes out of this painting because she shed blood on the painting.
Okay. Jams shed blood on the painting.
Yes, Jams shed blood on the painting, and that essentially made Pet come through this portal, which is the painting. And Pet comes in and tells Jam that he's here to hunt a monster. So when she tells him he's a monster, he's like, and he's very menacing and whatnot. And he's like, I am not a monster. I'm here to hunt a monster. And you have to help me because you have to see what is unseen because there's things. So it's more like lifting the lid or opening a closet door and looking behind the mask to see the truth behind the mask or inside the closet than it is about truth versus what's false.
Okay.
And so, and I think it's about what the writer's trying to tell us is that we, as safe as we may think our environment is, we always need to keep our eyes open and to teach young people to keep their eyes open for dangers, for everyday monsters.
Everyday monsters.
That's what I call them. And she doesn't call it.
Okay.
They didn't call it everyday monsters, but that's what I call them.
So are everyday monsters people just like
you and me?
Oh.
But
they're not necessarily bad people?
No, but they are bad people.
Oh.
They are people who abuse children. They are people who attack other people because of the way they look or the way they act or for whatever prejudice or bigotry it is that they harbor in them, but that causes massive damage to the other person. Those are the monsters, or people that kill other people that actually... Yes. Those are what I call everyday monsters
we truly live among. Okay.
Exactly. So, and according to everybody in this town or city that Jem lives in, those monsters have been banished.
Oh.
There are no more killings. There are no more hate crime. There's no more child abuse. There is no more child neglect. The kids are not being taught about this either.
Okay. Wow. They're not being taught about it. Interesting.
Because it's
so like
vanished.
If you're not taught about it, then how do you know about it? So could it even be real if you don't know about it? Gosh. Okay. So what a quagmire. Speaking of true, how were the characters? Just like on a book level, not like on a plotty level or anything, but like, did they feel real to you? And did you feel like you knew them, or who was your favorite?
So to me, this book was more of a window into another world than a mirror into my own, although there's some overlapping. Like, I don't know any people in my personal life, and I've never met people in my personal life that speak like the people in the book. However, there's a scene when they go to Redemption's house and his whole family's there, aunts and uncles and everything. And I'm like, that felt natural. That felt real. That felt home. And then there's Jam, who only lives with her mom and her dad and basically just interacts with them at home. That also felt real because I only have a single child and it's just my husband, me, and, and her. So I did feel that the main characters were trying to be true to themselves within their schema, within what they knew about life. And my favorites were Jam, because ultimately she was looking to protect her friend, and then she was seeking justice, not vengeance.
Oh, okay.
So, and then Ube, the librarian.
Oh, yay, a super librarian.
Yes, because like a true librarian, he gave them access to the information that they were looking for, even though he knew when he told them, I don't know if your parents really want you to see this, but it's here. And you should be able to see it if this is what you want to see.
Keeper
if this is
the
what
information. Librarians. Ask us anything.
And he's a very minor role. But within that minor role, he has a very important part.
I love that. That's fun. One of the critiques I read of the book is that it felt a little inconsistent with the tone. Like it felt really tame or even geared toward younger, like preteens or tweens. And then the very end is like scary, gruesome, intense.
Yeah, but
do you disagree?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I do agree that maybe it was geared or it might be perceived that way, but I have 4 points to make.
Oh, okay.
A, would you critique Scout's boys in To Kill a Mockingbird?
Oh. Okay. Right. So it's like from her perspective and she's younger.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So granted, Jam and Redemption, and Jam's the main character, I would say she's probably around 14 years old, somewhere around there. But they are kept innocent. They don't know anything about these monsters that we know about. Mm-hmm. And we speak about, and we see the news, and we see so
they don't skew younger.
Anything about that. So how could they have that savviness that we're probably used to seeing in 13, 14, 15-year-olds?
Interesting. Oh, that just speaks to the author's skill.
Last but not least, my third point is, I recently read that we precisely don't have enough books that speak to 13 and 14-year-olds.
Oh, interesting.
That most of our YA is older or middle school. And then there's like a gap, not enough material precisely for 13, 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds that skew younger, maybe. To be able to read these books, especially when you might have somebody as young as 12 who wants to read something more advanced, but they don't have access to it because we don't have enough.
Yes.
Okay, and last but not least, ultimately, these kids have to make difficult choices. And I think they manage it well, given the fact that they had no information until they went to see the librarian.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like you liked it. What was your enjoyment level? How many stars would you give?
I gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. For me, 5, you have to have me in tears and laughter at the same time, basically. There has to be some comic relief to go with the tears and whatnot. So that's why I didn't give it a full 5. However, I enjoyed it. It was a fast read. I like books that read fast. I like books that keep me engaged. And I think it's an important book as well.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting and different, like nothing I've heard about. So that is awesome. And you already covered my last question a little bit because I was wondering how you would categorize it or if it sort of defies genre. But for those people who are like, oh, I love reading sci-fi or I love reading fantasy, like, is this up my alley?
I would say this book is a little bit dystopian, so not like...
Not the Hunger Games.
Not the Hunger Games, because it's an utopian society, whatever. But it is still like pretending that we could get rid of, we could banish. You could banish people who kill other people. You could banish people who hate on people who are LGBTQA. You could banish people who harm children in any way, including neglecting them. You could banish all of these people, right? So that is dystopian to me because I don't know, it's hard to imagine a world like that. Yeah. Precisely because as the book, as Pet states, it's hard to see the unseen. So it's hard to see behind those masks, to open those closets, to open the lid and see what's inside.
Not to mention to make sure you have the right person that you're banishing. Ooh, so yeah, I think dystopian sounds like it.
Dystopian, but also supernatural because this creature is coming out of a painting.
Yeah.
And there's some teleporting.
Ooh, Ooh, it sounds like you get a little bit of everything with pet. I like that. Yes. And it's not too long, which is another bonus.
It's only like 200 pages. Okay. I wouldn't consider it horror, but it might be because
depending on the reader.
Depending on the reader. Exactly. It's depending on the reader. A younger reader might consider it horror. Mm-hmm. But I didn't consider it horror.
Okay.
Okay.
So well, thank you. It sounds good, and I want to read it.
Okay, so now it's my questions.
Yes.
Okay. Based on the blurb, because Reverie, I think, is not actually releasing until like January.
Yeah, December or January.
December or January. So all I had was the blurb. Reverie is about inner versus outer worlds, or is it more like worlds within worlds? How would you explain a reverie?
I don't even know if I can explain it. It's like, it is about your inner world versus your outer world. But it would be as though my real true self, were jumping into your inner world. And then your true self is there also. And so you can be hurt in these worlds, or you can die in these worlds, or things can happen in these worlds that have repercussions in the quote unquote real world. So it's like a mixture between like your like sort of fantasy inner world and just real life. It's very weird. And it takes a little while to understand that that's what's happening. Mostly I think because the character is not fully
aware
of what's going on. Yes. So like as he is thrown into stuff, you're thrown into stuff, and you're like, oh, what just happened? Like I thought we were just riding in your mom's car, and all of a sudden like this is like we're underneath in tunnels, and you just are next to somebody who we didn't know before. So it's like you get stuck there really quick, and it's wild.
Okay. It also sounds like the protagonist is trying to figure out what or who to trust, which is what you were saying at the very beginning with your protagonist. So again, I didn't know about the others. Could you explain the others?
Okay, so
how many others are there?
So there's one mystery other who he has told Kane, don't tell the other people about me.
Okay.
So Kane's the only one who knows about this one guy named Dean. And he's in all these reveries, and he often will give Kane an important piece of information to like solve the puzzle. Because the reveries are almost like puzzles that you have to solve, and they're almost like movies you have to finish. And so if the reverie does not finish itself satisfactorily, the reverie itself, which is like a construct of this person's mind, starts to deteriorate and try to kill you. So, like, say your reverie is like your super crush is with you, like, on a boat in the middle of a pond, and you're having a wonderful romantic evening. And, like, if you, as one of the others who are there in this scene, do something, mess it up, the reverie will, like, you know, like, the sky might turn black. It might be a thunderstorm. Maybe you end up maybe you, like, turn into some monstrous creature who now has to kill one of the people who just messed up your dream. So it's, it's wild. So the others are the only people in the reveries who are lucid and know that they're in the reverie.
Oh.
Everyone else just is like a character following along. Even though you might know that kid from math class, he has no idea. He's playing the part that's in this person's mind. But you, as an other, know what's happening. And so you can be aware of like making sure the thing happens the way it's supposed to happen, making sure nobody gets hurt. And the others have powers. Each one has their own power. So Kane's power is like rainbow lightning that shoots out of his hands, and also he can fly, and also he's extremely powerful, and he doesn't even know all of his powers at first. And like with each reverie, he finds new powers that he can access. But like one has the power to make people invisible. One has the power to erase your memory. So like that one will often at the end of a reverie, like erase everyone's memory so that you don't know you were there. Or like it's just like a hint of a dream that you might have had.
Yeah, so like a deja vu.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I'm trying to think of what their other powers are, but they're things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they can sort of like teleport,
sounds really
save each other. It's very intense. The only word I can summon is intense. It's like constant intensity.
I can already think about a couple of people who'd be interested in that kind of book.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so I am especially interested in who may or may not be the nemesis, who may or may not be the nemesis Poesi. Like, I'm not sure by the blurb. Is she the nemesis or is she just an antagonist? Is she a she or more like an it or they? That's another question. I also love descriptive language. And I like that at the beginning of the blurb, it said that it was better wigs than the magicians and Inceptions and all that.
Yes.
So what's Poesi like?
Okay, so at first we're introduced to this character as Kane's psychoanalyst because the police, if you recall, are involved in the very beginning because they find him at an accident scene and they have no idea what happened. What we come to find out is that accident scene is like this collision between real world, not reverie. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, but the police have no idea what they're looking at. They're just like seeing this kid and they think that he ran his car into this building and they thought maybe he was suicidal. Maybe he was trying to kill somebody. Like they don't know what, and he has no memory.
So they send him to psychoanalyst.
So they send him to a psychoanalyst. So at first Poesi is his psychoanalyst. And when you first meet Poesi, he presents male but like, I guess really flamboyant or almost fantastically dressed, like meticulous suit, perfect everything, but like feminine.
Okay.
But like he says he's a he. Okay. And so you're like, all right. So Kane is put at ease immediately because he feels like, okay, this is someone that I can trust. Because Kane also, he feels that Poesi is probably gay and Kane himself is gay. And so he has trouble sort of connecting with some other people. And he feels like he can't connect with this person because like maybe this person understands me. And then as the story progresses, Poesi becomes this like mythical drag queen, and she presents as she after that, and can like shapeshift and has this looks amazing, has perfect manicures, amazing like makeup.
We're jealous.
We are jealous. And has like great lines, perfect comebacks, like everything you imagine
super
a perfect
jelly
drag queen to be. And can also has power. So like not a psychoanalyst. Yeah, that was just a ruse. Shows up in reveries, is summoned by a whistle and like a power whistle, some kind of whistle that Poesi gives to Kane in one of their like meetings, and is like, take this and you'll know what to do with it. And so Kane has no idea what to do with it, but at one point he blows the whistle and then Poesi is summoned with her like, what do they call it? Some kind of beast that looks kind of like a horse, but has a beak and no face. And anyway, kicks ass in these things, like just beats things up and like basically makes the reverie kind of be less dangerous, and then tames everything.
The beast.
Yes.
Nice.
And Poesi like solves
the reverie.
Things,
if there's a reverie.
Solves the reverie puzzle, but you don't know if it's being solved satisfactorily or if there's like a little hint of not so good behind it. You're not sure whether Poesi is a protagonist or an antagonist or just like chaotic neutral. You don't know.
Now I'm more intrigued.
Yeah.
Into this book releases. I think I'm going to put myself on the list.
Yep, good idea. All right.
Okay, so Who was your favorite character?
I think my favorite character was Ursula, who is one of the others and is described as Kane's former best friend, but he no longer really identifies as her best friend because he doesn't remember her. So she's just this like obnoxious person to him who keeps trying to be close to him, be friends with him, save him, give him information he needs. And he's like, go away. Who even are you? You're so obnoxious. And she's like, ugh. But I liked her character. She's really persistent. She obviously cares about Kane. Yeah. She cares about their missions, even though she doesn't necessarily always read the Reverie the way she's like, Kane has this ability to know, like, understand what whoever's Reverie it is, what's supposed to happen. Ursula does not have this innate ability, but she's a good actress. And she's like really powerful. Her like power is that she's like a beast. She just like is strong, powerful, beats people up.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Strong girl.
She's very strong. Yes. And she's really persistent. And I think she's a good friend. So anyway.
Okay. So, and last but not least, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but why Connecticut?
Okay, so I have to make my confession here is that I didn't 100% finish it. So I don't know if that is answered at the very end. I can tell you it is not answered anywhere in the part that I have read so far.
Yes.
It just seems random. Like, this is where, like, there's these, like, magical forces that exist in the world. Oh, hold on. I wish I knew how to make my phone stop talking. Okay. There's like these magical things that exist in the world that poesy calls etheria. And for some reason, that etheria is particularly strong and powerful in the town of East Amity in Connecticut. I imagine it's probably described why, but I don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll have to read to find out. And
you will.
But this is great because then our readers will also have to read to find out.
Yes, it is a wild ride, I assure you. All right. So I would talk about what's up next, but I have no idea what's up next. I don't know what Erin's reading, and I don't know what I'm reading. In fact, Erin probably told me, but I didn't write it down. So sorry, Erin, if you're listening. But if you get a chance to answer our 2 questions from our reader, let me just find them again. They were, did you ever pretend to like or hate something just to fit in to make friends?
And what about your teen self do you wish you had kept into adulthood?
Likewise, if you have any questions about reading recommendations or library life, please write to us at teentitletalk@gmail.com, and we will read a few of your responses next time.
Thanks for joining us for Teen Title Talk. This podcast is brought to you by the Derry Public Library and Derry-CAM, Derry Community Access Media, empowering independent voices. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Google Play, and Player FM. Just search for Teen Title Talk. Don't forget to hit follow so you can hear the latest episode. Our theme was created and performed by Banded Starling. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.